We peel back the layers that are clouding your ability to see and show you ways you can reclaim your life and your communication. It's not what you know, it's what you implement that makes all the difference. Hey everybody, welcome back to Clarity Corner with Christiana. Oh my God, I'm so excited to have you join me today. Thank you so much. If you're new and tuning in, you can also follow me on facebook.com/The Clarity Strategist. Again, facebook.com/The Clarity Strategist. And I'll be streaming live there. If you have any questions, you can post a comment there and I'm answering them in real time in the studio. Or if you have any questions and you want to get some results and reach out, you can call in at 727-441-3000. Again, it's 727-441-3000. So today's show is going to be so exciting. We are going to get control of clutter. I don't know about you, but now that the holidays are coming and things are starting to heat up, we're on the countdown to the end of the year and it feels like things only speed up and speed up and speed up. So we're going to be helping you get control of the clutter that gets in the way of you enjoying your holiday and blocks the new year. So first of all, what is clutter? Clutter is the barrier that gets between you and what you want or what you want to be doing. So there's effectively three types of clutter in my experience, in my career. And first is physical clutter. That's all the stuff that piles up around you, whether it's papers or, oh my gosh, papers, books, toys, collectibles, whatever it is. It's all those things that accumulate that don't go into any particular category, but they start piling up around you. That is physical clutter. The next type of clutter is mental clutter. So I've seen this before where people have a lot of clutter around them. And the reason that piles up is because they don't have the mental clarity to have a structure on where do you put it? How do you set something up? And they've never been trained or they've never found a way because you are the answer you've been looking for. So oftentimes we do what works for everybody else. And if it doesn't work for us, we make decisions and we say, oh my gosh, I'm good or bad or right or wrong or success or failure based on whether I could make somebody else's system work, which is designed for their brain and not mine. So we have the mental clutter, and we also have I would like to call it the communication clutter, language. So what language are you speaking? There's 4 primary different personality types, and each type has their own language that they use, their values that drive their decisions. So this is another type of clutter. So we have physical, we have mental, and we have language. And today we're going to be talking about physical clutter and accumulation. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine who every time I get on the phone with somebody now, I'm saying, hey, where are you struggling? Where are things piling up? Where are things breaking down? And he was telling me that he's been doing really well, but what he's noticed is that his paperwork is piling up. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, let's have a look at that. What do you mean your paper's piling up? And he said, yeah, he's like, my paper's piling up and I need a better system or a way to file it or put it away. So what I did with him is we were having a quick conversation. And I said, okay, well, there's 2 types of people. And I haven't really heard anybody else ever talk about this. It's what I discovered, my gosh, in over 2 decades of working with people, is that there's 2 primary types of people. There's people that are physical and there's people that are digital. So let's have a look. If you're a physical person, you like to touch things. You like to hold things in your hand. Maybe you need to write things down. So if you're a physical person, you look around, you probably have a lot of paper. You probably have a lot of physical things. Maybe you have a lot of books piled up or hobbies or things that you're doing with your hands. So it's that physical clutter that piles up around you. Now, the other type of person is a digital person. So digital person, yes, those people that whenever they're doing something, they're always in their technology, right? They're like, oh, there's an app for that. That's a perfect phrase for a digital person. There's an app for that. Or let's say if you're taking notes, there's people that take notes on digital medium and there's people that take physical notes. That'll tell you if you're a physical or digital. It's what you default towards. Also, what's really interesting about this is you need in my experience, you need to know what type of person you are in order to know how to get started to solve the problem. Because if you don't know, you might enthusiastically start on the wrong side, and then you're not going to be able to get the result that you're looking for. So there's two ways of really understanding. So like I said before, if you're taking notes, do you take notes on digital or do you take notes physically? So again, I was actually just in a training room with one of my clients who's an ER doctor, and we got our notebooks and I'm there, writing physical notes, and she's in her iPad or in her phone, and she's in real time taking almost verbatim notes on her phone. It was insane. I've never seen anyone type that fast. And I asked her and she said, no, this is where I store things. This is how my brain works. So it was really beautiful. Here's two people sitting next to each other doing it differently. So it's really important to have a look at that. Also, say you're reading books. Are you somebody that would rather hold a book and turn a page? Like there's the old school style, old school people of turning the book, having that page, having the feel of it. And there's, my other friend, she keeps like 100 books on her phone and she can flip through whatever one she wants. It's very simple. However, I'm a physical person. So when I read something, if it's on the computer or online, I actually don't remember it as well. But if I'm physically holding it, there's that tactile piece that actually imprints it in my brain. So if I write a note on the computer, it doesn't stick. But if I handwrite notes or a list, I could forget the list at home and still remember it. So it's a way that my brain stores information. So first, just have a look and make sure, grab a pen and paper if you're not driving and write down, hey, are you a physical or digital? And then start having a look at the world through that perspective, because that's a really powerful, once you understand that, it'll clear up a lot of other things. Next, let's have a look at, I always like to say this, there's past organizing and future organizing. And I think I'm pretty much the only one that I've ever heard about talking about this. And so past organizing is what most people do. You look at your space, you have a problem, there's accumulation, and what do? You start sorting it, or you hire someone who comes in and then they just sort all your stuff. Maybe you purge your stuff, but right, because purging is really important. You have Mount Everest of your problem. You want to remove as much of it as possible, and then you have a less problem to deal with. I always say, the more zeros you have in the bank account, the more it amplifies your problem. So handle it now before you get to all the zeros in your bank account that you want. Because I had one client who had a 10,000 square foot storage unit of what would not fit in the house. He actually bought a storage facility so he could take he'd take one entire floor of it just to house what wouldn't fit in the house from what his wife was purchasing. So handle it now while it's easier to handle, because otherwise it will, like I said before, a good idea if left unattended can become your anchor, or a life preserver if left unattended can become your anchor. So past organizing is also, if you look at your environment, every single thing you have in your environment is the past. It's based on a choice that you made in the past. So if you love the trajectory of your life and you're like, yes, I'm on track, things are going great, then just clean up and keep going. You're fine. But if you want to get better results, and what I find, as we're coming up into a new year, there's a habit on the edge of the new year. Everyone sets resolutions. Oh, I'm going to do things differently. Well, what happens is they organize the past. And when you start the new year, the habits are anchored in your environment for what you've been doing, not what you're going to do. So if you want to stay on that, my client says it best. We were in her house and we were organizing, and she said, oh my goodness, she's like, I feel like I'm rearranging chairs on the Titanic, right? The ship's going in the direction that it's going. But if you don't handle it, you're going to get the same result. And if you're already sinking, it was really funny. So doing the past organizing sometimes is rearranging chairs on the Titanic, which I love because it's just an incredible visual. So then the future. So what's future organizing? I love this concept. Future organizing is decide where you want to go. And if you're not clear here, this comes back to the mental clutter, right? This is where we want to get your thinking clear so that way you can bring forth what you want to bring forth in your life. So with future organizing, how I do this with people is, let's say you have your office at home. Pull everything out of your office, decide where you're going in your life, and only put back that what supports the new behavior or gets you to where you want to go. Take everything else out, because if you think about it, all of those past decisions are just distractions keeping you from where you're going. And if you do that, it's amazing. So my friend that I was talking about before, he lives up in New Jersey, and he was part of the hurricane that went through there, and they had all that flooding in New York and New Jersey. And so he had to replace the floors in his house. So he pulled everything out of his house, and he had tons of filing cabinets, and he pulled everything out of his house, and just over time, it's still in storage, but he's put just a few things back, and he's like, "Oh my God, I feel so light now. God, it feels so good in here." And I said, "Yes, because it's not your anchor. You're not you're not pulling your anchor along behind you, or the ball and chain, right? Like, you're not doing that." So future organizing is, again, you're going to decide where you want to go and what do you need to get there, and what habits do you want to have. So if you set your space up for that, now your space, your environment is going to support you. So that dives into another concept of willpower versus environment. Environment is stronger than your willpower. Buckminster Fuller said that. So that means you have this willpower, just like people that start on New Year's Eve, right? And they're going to like put this new thing in place and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to go to the gym every day. Well, if you don't have or I'm going to go on this diet, but they still leave all the sugar in the cupboard, right? That's not going to happen. You're immediate, as soon as something like difficult happens, you're going to go right back to that sugar. So what you want to do is you want to set up your environment to support that behavior. Well, what happens is willpower is like a sprint and your environment is like a marathon. So what happens is you have your willpower. That's how you're going to get started. You're going to move in that direction. But at some point, you'll get a lull in your willpower because it's not sustainable long term. Well, if your environment is set up to support you, now you're not going to fall back as easily into your old patterns because you've shifted the container that's holding them. So the container that's holding you is now designed for the new pattern. So it will keep you on track better than having it done the old way. So let me ask you, have you ever planned for the future and set your environment up that way?
A lot of times getting computer work done, but I can't think of a really tangible example.
So for those of you listening in, that's Bobby. He's my producer here. Just so you know who he is. Yeah, exactly. So a great example, a really simple example is if you're going to go on a diet and you want to clean out everything you don't want to be eating and remove it from the house. So that way you actually have to get in your car. I think you're holding up sugar, right?
Yep, there's cookies right there.
Exactly. Right. So if you want to shift that behavior, then you want to remove everything that's going to pull you off that path. So you want to get rid of all the sugar. You want to get rid of all the bad things, all the chips, all the things that you don't want to be eating. You want to purge all of that, and you want to keep only what's going to support you in the diet. And you want to plan maybe cooking meals in advance. So you have stuff that's easy to grab, because if you don't have something simple to grab, you're going to miss it. So again, that's one way that you can apply this technique. So in your office, so if you're focusing on maybe creating like a show, or maybe you're making a mix, you want to have all your music around you, but you don't need things like that are going to distract you from that. You want to keep it very focused. All right. So my friend was telling me that he had been keeping up with, actually, I have one person that I'm going to refer to you after the break. We're going to head right to break, but stay tuned. We're going to figure out, you're going to have a solution. So hold on, and we'll see you in just a minute.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey, come here. Are you having a hard time connecting your business? You know, we found a simple, easy way for you to connect, engage, and refer other business professionals and have professionals refer your business. It begins with 3 letters, and those 3 letters are
IRGA.
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 So, what is RGA? It's a really great alternative to in-person networking meetings that's a revenue-generating activity. We invite you to connect your business with the most remarkable professionals in your area. Connect, exchange ideas, and refer at rganetwork.net. No masks required.
RGA.
The Republic of Pinellas every Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock on WTAN, Tan Talk Network, 1340 AM, 106.1 FM. Whether our topic is Donald Trump and the future of the greatest president of past century, in my humble opinion, whether it's education, whether it is term limits, you'll hear about it here on the Republic of Pinellas on Tan Talk Network.
Are you hoping to grow your business but not sure how? Has your business flattened out? It may be your messaging. This is Maureen Famiano with MEF Media. I've been in the TV broadcasting business for more than 30 years, and I enjoy helping businesses and entrepreneurs go to the next level. It's about strategy and branding, finding the right story to tell, and then getting media exposure. I'm here to help you grow your business. Find me on Facebook or my website at MEF Media, and let's launch your next chapter today.
Did you know that almost all skincare products have ingredients in them that actually harm your skin? This extends shelf life. It gets worse. There are 10 ingredients in skincare products that are banned across Europe. I got really upset when I started researching why my skin was getting worse no matter what I did. So I created my own skincare without any of the nasties, and it worked. My skin is glowing fresh and young like never before. So if you want actual results using 100% natural skin, visit formulaflawless.com.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome back to Clarity Corner with Christiana. So great to have you here with me today. We are talking about getting control of clutter. And we were talking about before the break on the different types of clutter and past and future organizing. Now, most organizers deal with the past. They deal with what you already have in your space. And that's not a bad thing. That's important. But if you love going in that direction, then go in that direction. But let me ask you, maybe you have a question. You guys feel free to call in. You can reach me at 727-441-3000. Go ahead and call in if you have any questions. But what I want to talk to you about today is really about how are we going to get control of that clutter? So one of the things I was talking about my friend who lives in New Jersey, and he was suffering from a buildup of clutter. And he started using a woman that a lot of my clients have used. Her name is Marie Kondo. I'm not sure if you've heard of her. She has a book out called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. That is a great process to start reducing the amount of stuff that you have, because the first step in anything is creating space. So I gave you a couple ideas on last week's show about 2 things you could do to start getting more space. So you can go back and you can listen to that one. Or Marie Kondo is another person. Again, remember, each person has a different viewpoint and a different personality. So you want to find the person that works for you to make it fit your style. So Marie Kondo has this simple system where what she does is she has you pile everything by category on one thing. So if it's your clothes, you throw all your clothes in a pile so you can, first of all, see the crazy amount of what you have. So you can lie to yourself until it's all in one place. And then you just go through each item by item, and you just say, does this spark joy? And here, this is the rub for all the women who've kept onto the clothes that no longer fit for decades. And it's like, oh, when you look at that, does that spark joy or does that spark guilt or something else? So again, it's very easy I was actually just talking to somebody today, and she was saying she has all these suits that are so expensive. And while she doesn't use them anymore and she hasn't used them for a long time, what do you do? And so we were talking about, there's a couple charities where they help women get back on their feet and get into the workplace. And so she's going to reach out, because if you can find something that motivates you to give, then all of a sudden you're going to give more. So at the end of this process, so check her out on YouTube. You can find all different kinds of videos. It's very easy to find a lot of information about Marie Kondo. But again, at the end of throwing everything in a pile and sorting what sparks joy and what doesn't, and then you thank the item for its time with you, then what happens, you end up with 2 piles. Now you have one for trash, or you can sell, or you can donate, whatever you want to do. And then you have a smaller amount left over. So let's talk about maybe what are some strategies that you've used in the past. Because if we don't look at where we haven't had success in the past, we can't address the problem. So according to an article on WebMD for clutter, they were talking about when you have memory clutter, things that you're holding on to from the past, that actually can increase depression and anxiety. So I've noticed that people that have a very large amount of clutter tend to suffer from depression, at least in my experience with my clients, or anxiety. So really just understanding that also an accumulation of clutter is about that wanting of more, which can oftentimes lead to putting on excess weight, because how you behave in one area of your life often leaks over into another area of your life. So if you're all about having more, well, you might have more around your middle too. So these are really important. So let me ask you, what is your strategy for handling clutter? The first strategy is, do you say, you avoid it at all costs? You have a room, you fill up that room, you shut the door, and you pretend the rest of the house looks great, but you pretend that you don't have the problem. You have like one place you're acting out, you're not going to handle it. I don't know if that's a thing. So have you had that issue?
Occasionally.
Yeah, we all have that. Even like I said, even on Friends, Monica had a closet where she had she couldn't even fit one more thing in it because it was just the pile up, but the rest of the house was amazing. So we have that. So the other thing is people generally won't handle it until it becomes unavoidable, or it's irritating a family member to the point where the family member calls intervention to get it handled because it's disrupting the relationship. Another thing is that you put your life on hold. So maybe if you have a big project, I have had this happen over and over where people will put their life on hold to handle the clutter, and they go as far as they can. Oftentimes they can't finish because they don't have the clarity of where everything truly goes, but they get a nice chunk done, but they put their life on hold. And what happens when your life's on hold, everything new coming in is building up. So you end up with the same problem. You still have the same amount of accumulation, or you have that wave of, oh, I cleared it. Now it's built up again. Now I clear it. So you never truly get the actual feeling that you're looking for.
Because you can run, but you can't hide, I guess, is how I look at it.
Exactly. That's the whole point with clarity, or with organization and clutter. Another way that you can handle it is you can remove everything out of your environment. And this is one suggestion that I used. I had a woman whose mother died, and so she took on all the stuff from the house when the house got sold, and you could only walk through her house with boxes, right? There was just hallways, and she was having a really hard time, one, managing the death of her mother. So she was very sad. Plus, when she looked at it, it was a daunting task. So she was having a hard time handling her business, and she was an entrepreneur. So your mindset is everything. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to have your mindset in the right place in order to generate and run and grow your business. So the strategy I used with her is we got those storage units where you get for $1 for the first month. And we took everything out and we moved it into a storage unit. And she blocked out 4 days where she was going to go handle it. And so she went, and she actually had 4 days, and she got someone to help her. So she had the support. And what happened is, all of a sudden, when everything was out of her space, her productivity went up. Her business got successful. Things started working. So there's another strategy where you can move it and then handle it in manageable chunks. The other thing is, maybe you tackle one project at a time and you say, okay, well, let me just handle the garage, but you do it in a day. So you say, okay, I'm just going to tackle this, or maybe it's the weekend. I'm going to take the weekend and I'm going to do it. So that way you don't get that huge buildup in your life, but you get to handle it in a more bite-sized chunk. So what would you say that your life would be? Are you one that totally avoids it? Are you someone that will put it on hold and then end up with another accumulation? Or do you maybe say, okay, I can tackle this one project and handle it? Or my solution is just remove everything and then set aside days where it's out of your environment so you don't have all the triggers in the same way.
I have been getting to that second to last one you said, where I wait till it's just at the tipping point, and then I finally say, all right, all these files have to go on the out of pictures or whatever, and then I realize what I didn't really need, and I guess I'd say the same thing for tangible clutter too, but yeah, I'd say the second to last.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, there's a really fun strategy that we can look at, which I love. And I've talked about it before. And I love, I always say my accountability partner, I always call it $1 billion idea because anybody can use it. And it's not the matter of how I set it up for you, but it's the matter of that anybody can apply it. Even like, it doesn't matter what level you're at, you can find 10 minutes. And I call it 10-minute magic. And 10-minute magic is a simple system where you pick something that's winnable, right? You don't start with the garage with a 10-minute magic because you're not going to see results. But I started back in the day, oh my gosh, like over a couple decades ago, a decade, somewhere around 15 years ago. And what I was working out of my room. So I had a roommate. So my office was in my bedroom. And what happened is at that point in my life, I wouldn't make my bed. So then I would always kind of be in a messy environment. And here I am doing organization, and that's not congruent. So I set up this thing where I said, okay, I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. And I was working with someone who had this, like their guest house was my dream house. And I said, oh, wow, they make their bed like this. It looks like a high-end spa. So I like bought all the stuff. So the first day I put all the stuff out, like made it look really beautiful, look like a high-end spa, like this really beautiful thing. It took me just before 10 minutes and the timer went off and then I stopped. So you have to stop. So you set the timer for 10 minutes, you remove distractions and you stop when the timer goes off, because most people have a hard time getting started and then a hard time stopping once they're started. So the two things that derail people. So this tool will help you with that. So first you set the timer and you make a clean spot. So I did that. I made my bed. Then the next day, it only took me like 3 or 4 minutes to make my bed. So then I moved on to my nightstand. And so I kept cleaning that. And when the timer went off, I stopped. And the next time I did that. Then I went to my dresser and then I stopped. And what happened was over the course of an entire month, like I could manage my entire room at any time in 10 minutes or less to get it back where it needed to be, because you have to maintain it as you go. So it's not like, oh, I go do this and then I let it pile up again. It's maintaining it. So you maintain and you grow your clean spot. And what happens is all of a sudden you start getting more and more productive. Your time slots, you actually get more efficient. You get more done because you're playing a game, you're racing against the clock. And then you can have more bursts of productivity in 10-minute increments and it keeps you motivated. Have you ever had the experience where you go, and then you slow down as you go and you get more tired and you're like, I'm going to push through, but like your productivity is like next to nothing by the end?
Just spinning your wheels.
Exactly. So doing these 10-minute increments are very easy because then as soon as the timer goes off, you're done. So it's teaching the skills. So you can use 10-minute magic. I'm going to have you go to my website. It's claritymapping.com. So CLARITY mapping, MAPPING, claritymapping.com. And you will see 10-minute magic ebook on there. Click on there and you can download that so you can use that as a way to help you get control of your clutter. So if you have a couple hours you can dedicate to doing something, do that. Or you could just do 10-minute magic and you can pick it. And it's easiest and best if you do it at the same time every day because you're building the habit. And also you can use it to track your time. So let's say you're going to, I don't know, write a letter to somebody or an email. You can track it in 10-minute magic. You can say, oh, wow, that took me 2 10-minute magics. That took me 20 minutes to write that email. I thought it was only going to take 10. So now you can start seeing the discrepancy between how long you think it's going to take versus how long it actually takes. So that's another way you can use it. But go check out that ebook. Go again, it's claritymapping.com. You go there and get the ebook for 10-minute magic. That will help you reclaim your life. And again, every single one of my clients applies it differently because the whole point is, if you're a very data-driven person, here's the thing, you got to do what works for you. So oftentimes I know people that are like heavy into data can get lost in the data or in writing and end up hours later writing and I have a lot of clients like that. If you use 10-minute magic, it's going to force you to get more done in a shorter period of time, or at least get realistic with how much time things actually take so you don't complicate your life by taking more on your plate than you can handle. Maybe you're somebody that loves that structure. And again, this is something that's going to be very easy for you to do because it's a simple step and you're in and you're out and you're done. Or maybe you're someone that really just wants a quick result and you just want the bottom line. Again, this is something that is going to work for every personality type. So this is something I really want to share with you. Now, we've looked at your clutter. We see, so identify where your clutter's piling up, figure out if you're a physical or digital person. So are you a physical or digital? Then you know that. Then we talk about, are you just cleaning up the past, or do you want to figure out where you're going? And if you want to figure out where you're going, figure that out and then set your environment up that way. And then how are you going to tackle the clutter, right? Are you going to keep the approach of putting it off until it decides to take over? Or are you actually going to dedicate a chunk of time, or maybe just 10-minute magic so you don't get overwhelmed? Those are all different ways. Or you could even check out Marie Kondo or check out my other show on handling clutter, which I'll give you a couple simple tips that you can look at as well. So those are the different ways that you can go about it, because it really comes down to what you do consistently. And I'm really excited to go into the next section, which we'll head into in just a minute or so. But I want to share with you, there's as many different approaches as there are the different kinds of people. So when you understand what makes sense for you, all of a sudden your life is going to start working better. I believe any person can be organized if they truly want to. There's the people that say, oh, I want to be organized, but I want to sit on the couch and eat bonbons all day long. Okay, that's probably not going to work for you. But if you truly, truly want to be organized, you can. And you are the answer you've been looking for all along. And I get so frustrated because I see that everybody tries it on and says, oh, I've tried this in the past and I can't get organized, or I can clean it up, but it keeps coming back. Here's the thing. Clutter is an ebb and flow. Things are always going to pile up because life happens, but do you have a system that's going to help you stay on top of it? That's what we're going to be talking about in a little bit. But I just get so frustrated because people think that they can or they can't, or they're good or they're bad, or they're right or they're wrong. And you're not. None of that is true. And all that says, if you've tested a system before and it hasn't worked out, or you're struggling with clutter and organization, I'm here to tell you, if you knew the house I grew up in and how messy it was, I'm not one to pass judgment on anybody, right? I'm out there on the plank with you. But what I really want you to understand is the only thing it means is you haven't found something that works for you. Just like Edison with a light bulb, he had 10,000 ways it didn't work. You have to find your way. And when you find your way, all of a sudden, everything will start working. And again, we always talk about form versus function. And so first, what I like to say is, let's get it working, then you can make it look pretty. When people want to make it look pretty before they have it functioning, that's like one of the biggest hiccups that people have. So stay tuned. After the break, we're going to go in. How can you handle this going forward to get control of the clutter? We'll see you in a minute.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Did you know that almost all skincare products have ingredients in them that actually harm your skin? This extends shelf life. It gets worse. There are 10 ingredients in skincare products that are banned across Europe. I got really upset when I started researching why my skin was getting worse no matter what I did. So I created my own skincare without any of the nasties, and it worked. My skin is glowing fresh and young like never before. So if you want actual results using 100% natural skin, visit formulaflawless.com.
Hi, we had exactly 30 seconds to kill. We weren't able to sell this slot, so we at Tan Talk Radio would like to take 30 seconds and waste it with you. Do you like fishing? How about them bucks? Those shoes look really nice. I wonder if that lady in the car next to me at the stoplight would like to move to Arizona with me. The smell of sardines makes me ill. How about you? Why do you think Eastern Airlines went under? If you scratch that much more, you'll have to see a dermatologist. Oh, looks like our time is up. Well, thanks. See ya. Maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Hey, come here. Are you having a hard time connecting your business? We found a simple, easy way for you to connect, engage, and refer other business professionals and have professionals refer your business. It begins with 3 letters, and those 3 letters are
IRGA.
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 So, what is RGA? It's a really great alternative to in-person networking meetings that's a revenue-generating activity. We invite you to connect your business with the most remarkable professionals in your area. Connect, exchange ideas, and refer at rganetwork.net. No masks required.
IGA.
hoping to grow your business but not sure how? Has your business flattened out? It may be your messaging. This is Maureen Famiana with MEF Media. I've been in the TV broadcasting business for more than 30 years, and I enjoy helping businesses and entrepreneurs go to the next level. It's about strategy and branding, finding the right story to tell, and then getting media exposure. I'm here to help you grow your business. Find me on Facebook or my website at MEF Media, and let's launch your next chapter today.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome back to Clarity Corner with Christiana. Very excited to be here with you. My husband says that was the best commercial filler. We couldn't fill this
I
slot.
haven't played it in like 5 years.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. I love that. Bringing a little levity to all of this conversation about clutter. So I'm really excited to talk about this section. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to call in. You can call in at 727-441-3000 or reach out on facebook.com/The Clarity Strategist. Let me slow that down. Facebook.com/The Clarity Strategist. And you can type any comments in there and I'll answer them in real time. So we've talked about clutter. We've talked about what kind of person we are. We've talked about whether we do the past or the future. We've talked about some past ways people have handled it or some options. Now, here is the gem, the gold, what you've been waiting for, my favorite thing. And what's so funny is I was talking to my accountability partner who comes on here with me often, at least, she's been here so far 3 or 4 times, and her name is Anita. And we were talking about how are we planning for 2022? And we were talking about what are the 3 things you're focusing on. So you can go back and listen to that. That's a great show. So I'm not going to dive into that. But what's interesting is we were talking about it always has to fit you. And there's a way that I teach for organizing that I teach all the time to keep it incredibly simple, because simple is doable. If you have someone who has a very intricate system, unless you're someone who loves intricate and investing a lot of time, don't even go down that path. You don't want to set yourself up for failure, right? You want to go have a life and enjoy yourself. So this system I call is past, present, and future. So if you're looking at this from an organizing perspective, the past is everything that we have. So if you're looking at your life, it's like, okay, what's one thing this month that I can clean from the past, right? You can pick one thing every month. Okay, what am I going to handle from the past? So you're not going to put your life on hold. You're going to stop that behavior unless you love it, right? And if you want a different result, stop that behavior. And now you're going to handle one thing from the past. Then you can say, what am I going to take care of in the present so I don't have more past, right? So if you go on a trip and you come back and you don't put your stuff away, you're creating a new thing that you have to handle that's going to go in the past category. So instead, maybe you could do that. And I'm laughing because that's like my big thing. So my husband's listening, so I'll out myself right now. That's one of my struggles. And but again, it's like, so what's something in the present that you can handle? And then what's something you can do for the future that's going to help you? So for instance, if you're going to handle something from the past, you say, okay, I'm going to clean up the garage. Okay, well, I'm going to tackle that in small bites. So I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'll say, okay, I'll handle all the tools, or you just pick a category and handle one thing. Then the present is, okay, so what I'm going to do in the present is every time I use my tools, I'm going to put them back. So that way they don't become clutter again, right? Then the next thing you can look at is in the future is, oh, maybe there's a better way of going forward. So how can I explain this in a way that makes really yummy sense? Okay. So if we're going forward in the future, what system am I going to build, or what am I going to move forward? So maybe I have the wooden pegboard and I'm going to put my tools out on that wooden pegboard. And then that way I can see them. We're not really using the wall in that way. Maybe I'll do that. So my father growing up was incredibly blueprint. I always thought he was this action guy, like mover. He was always into everything. But structure led everything in his life. And he was in a home that had no structure. So he was driven mad on a regular basis. Loved my mom, but it was the only thing they ever fought about. But I went back and I visited the house I grew up in this summer with my mom. And you could still see his pegboard in the shop where he had it, and he had every single thing had a place. And the person, it was just one of those things that got left behind, but he set that up. So that could be something that you could take care of going forward. Like you're not going to handle it. It's just like one project you can handle that's going to support you going forward in the future. Now, this is a brilliant strategy that I've taught over and over and over 20 years with my clients. Like this way we can move forward. So you're not going to do everything at once because it really isn't realistic to put your life on hold like that. However, this is something you can do in planning your life. So there's a lot of different systems out there. And if you haven't found one that works for you, entertain this idea and see if this makes sense. What's one thing from the past that I can clean up? Maybe it's my emails. I don't know. How many emails do you have in your inbox? Or maybe it's you're going to do from the past, maybe you're going to do 10-minute magics on your pile of papers. So you're going to take all your pile of papers, put them in one place, and every day you're going to do a 10-minute magic to just start weeding that down. Okay, so that could be something you could handle. Then in the present, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything away as I handle it. So maybe in the present, you could say, oh, if I'm going to this event and I'm meeting people, I'm going to follow up with everybody. So I make sure that I don't have more of this clutter hanging about. So I'm going to follow up with everybody. I'm going to put them in my CRM. And then I can put the cards away if I want to keep them, just to have them, or I can take a picture and attach it to their CRM, or I could just get rid of them. So that way I'm not building up any more clutter. So maybe that's a strategy. And then going forward in the future, you can say, oh, what's a project that's coming up maybe next month or next quarter that I could take a step towards completing. So that way next month when it's the present, I could actually be a step ahead. And so this is a great way to look at how you're handling your life. So let me ask you, what have you been doing? I want you to write down on a list, grab a piece of paper and write down what's not working. And as we have a look at this, once you go back and you go through this show and you look at it through the lens of what we've already talked about, what are things that you can do once you have your list of all the things that are in the past that need to be handled? What are some things that you could be handling right now in the present so you don't accumulate more stuff? Maybe it's handling your online shopping. If you have an online shopping addiction, maybe you could say, oh, well, what if I hit the pause button before I get it and say, okay, do I really need to have this thing? Or what is it that this thing is going to get me? One of the things I used to work with all these psychiatrists, with these 3 psychiatrists in Los Angeles, and they would refer me their ADD patients. And what was really interesting is one of them had recommended, because she had a few clients that were compulsive shoppers. What she did is she had them in their mind think about buying the item without buying it, but think about buying it and how great it felt. And then write in the journal about it and then give it a day before they bought it. And what happened is they still got by visualizing actually buying it, they got an endorphin or a dopamine influx, or I think that's what that's called. And then when they're writing about it, they're like, yeah, and then what does it get me? And then the next day they were on to the next thing that they wanted to buy that day. And then what happened is you could see only the things that kept persistent were buying, and it would cut their habits like ridiculously. And I always thought, well, that was kind of silly, but all of a sudden it really does work if you actually test it out.
I've never written it down, but I have like gone back and read the specs of something, the specifications, and I've read it over and over, or read something about it and talked myself out of a lot of stuff. Like, well, does this really do anything for me?
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to some friends the other day, and we were talking about our habits, and she said, what she'll do is she'll go online and she'll add all these things to her shopping cart. And what she does is she'll reduce it by like 80%. She'll be like, okay, well, I'm only going to get these 2 things. So she feels like she got the idea of being able to put all these things in her shopping cart online. And then she's like, look at how good I am. I'm only getting 2. So in her mind, she was saving money because she wasn't buying it. But it was a game that she played that made sense for her. So it's really finding what works for you, making it fun for you. If you make it fun and you make it simple, you'll do it. Right? So if you are the person that really just values that freedom, that flexibility, and you want to be able to have, get whatever you want when you want to get it, that's great. Make sure it's not going to cause you a problem on the back end. And if it is, pause and say, hey, so what am I going to do with this? Where's it going to live in the house? Do I have space for it? One of my favorite things is give people a dedicated amount of space. And when you outgrow it, then you have to start making decisions. You can do whatever you want within this space, but once you start outgrowing it, now if you want to add something, you got to get rid of something. And then that way it keeps you in that place where you're not denying yourself anything, but you have a dedicated amount of space. So I did that with I was telling a friend who I was talking to on the phone today, like, just tell your husband you have this one closet. And this is where you get to act out. And when you outgrow the closet, you will not exceed this barrier, right? So you can have whatever you want in that closet without conversation. But if it exceeds that, then we can have a conversation. And then all of a sudden you have all this permission where you were having so many self-judgments before. Cool. All right. So what I want to do is, what is one major thing? I want to talk about back to the physical and the digital. If you don't have a system, you're going to have stuff built up. So I want you to have a look at the papers or things that you're carrying around. If you don't have a system, all of a sudden, that's where you're going to start. I want you to start seeing if you can identify the points where clutter builds up. So you have some basic files, but then there's a pile of stuff that doesn't quite fit anything. I want you to keep all that in one space and have a look at where in your life or where in your process does it get backed up? It's like, oh, I know where all my bills go. Well, this is something that maybe I want to look into, or maybe this is something I want to research, or maybe this is something that I want to keep someday. It's fine until you get to the point where you can't find things, right? So I want you to see if there's a space where you actually get stuck, where you're like, oh, I do really well with this, but when it gets to this point. So I was talking to a friend about the biggest problem is storage on her phone. And what happens is she'll go to an event and she'll snap like 50 pictures. Well, you're only going to keep maybe 5 to 10 pictures on the event. Well, now you have an extra 40 pictures on your phone. So we were talking about, well, how can she handle that? Because I don't know about you. Tell me about you. I have so many pictures I could be deleting on my phone.
And then they used to give you the thing where you could just see how many. 4,346.
You have 4,346? Okay, wait, hold on. I want to see. I don't know.
90 videos.
Will iPhone tell me how many I have?
You have to pull it up, swipe up.
Swipe up? Oh, I don't know.
Right,
Let's see.
at all photos.
I don't know. Oh, all photos. Oh, man. I don't know where I am. All photos. Okay.
Yeah.
15,000.
Oh, all right.
So let's just say I'm paying for the terabyte.
Oh, okay. Well, I got 64 gig.
Right. I love how it goes. You can have this amount of storage and then it goes from there straight to a terabyte. And again, but this is a great example, right? Like, where are the places that you accumulate things? And if you have photos on your phone, do you actually keep them in albums, or do you have to sort through them, right? There's so many fun little ways that you can start doing that. So maybe when you have downtime, you take 10 minutes and you just delete the photos that don't matter and like create albums that you want. Like, that could be something really simple that you could manage.
Tends to come around the time when coincide with a little notification that says your iPhone's out of storage, but
Yeah.
I need to get better than that.
Yeah. So, all right. Isn't that back to avoiding until the issue becomes unavoidable?
Oh, yes.
Right. Right.
For sure.
We all have those strategies, and it's fine, right? We all have accumulation in different areas. The funny thing is we think people are only looking at us, but everybody's worried about themselves too. So nobody's really looking at you in the way that you think that people are looking at you. I mean, unless you're a celebrity where people are like scaring you, but really everyone is the star of their own show. So we all have these different areas. I have been at this for over 2 decades. Everyone seems to have something going on, but I want to really come back to the past, the present, and the future. If you look at it like that, each month, pick one thing from the past that you can handle. Pick one thing for the present. What needs to get done that you're not going to let accumulate? okay, for clutter or whatever. So it could be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do 10-minute magic on my emails, or I'm going to do 10-minute magic on my phone, or where are you having that buildup? If you're a digital person, handle a digital medium. If you're a physical person, handle a physical medium, because you're going to feel a bigger reward on the end. And the more that we can get you in a winning situation, the more momentum you're going to have and the more you're going to do it. And then again, what's one thing I can prepare or fix going towards the future? I can do that now, so that way I'm ahead of the game. Because if you tackle all three, all of a sudden now you're handling everything at once and life seems to get easier. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Well, guys, I'm really excited. So one thing that I want to talk about is, let's just have a wrap up with different personalities, right? So we have our basic, the 4 personalities. And I want to talk about how they relate to this. And we'll just end on this, because each personality has a different way of handling clutter. The knowledge personality loves information. They're information junkies. You could either, with a knowledge personality, I've seen it often in both categories, digital and physical, and sometimes an accumulation of both. So with that, what you want to know is what's important to you and what's one thing you can clean up. 10-minute magic will be incredibly good for you in this data-driven category, because you're going to start being able to track your time, and it's going to start making a big difference. So again, you're the smart person. You want to have all the information, but are you accumulating it in a way where it just becomes clutter and now you can't find things? So just be mindful of that. If you're that person that loves structure and systems and planning and processes and that kind of thing, oftentimes you probably have a lot of things that are working, but there may be 1 or 2 areas where you're still struggling. So what I want you to do is think about that. I see if the past, present, and future works for you. Again, adapt it to what makes sense. And if you keep it simple, you're going to get results. So it's a simple step-by-step. You have 3 things: past, present, future. It's very easy and it's very low risk. The action personality is that one that there are the people that are on the go all the time. If that's you, you're going so fast. You have like a tornado of things happening behind you. So 10-minute magic is a really easy way for you to get started. And if you do look at the past, future, and present, you can very quickly pick out what matters most to get a result, to get you more freedom and more flexibility. So that's super important. And then as the nurturing style personality type, clutter gets in the way of relationships. It's a block. What happens is the things that you're keeping are things that warm your heart, of usually things that have happened in the past or ways that you're contributing, or maybe it's all about creating community. So take a look at that. If that's you, take care of 10-minute magic, do the past, present, and future, and you're going to start seeing results. So guys, thank you so much for joining. Be sure to check out Clarity Corner with Christiana every Wednesday at 5 p.m., where we continue to uncover what's clouding your vision and holding you back from communicating and thinking clearly. We'll get rid of the clutter that's blocking your success. It's not what you know, it's what you implement that makes all the difference. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next week. Take care.